Okay, talk normally.
Okay.
Don't use your teacher voice.
I'm not using a teacher voice.
Just speak normally.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. So, remember the questions we talked about?
No.
Oh my god. Okay, first question. What was your perception of marriage before getting married?
Are we starting?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, the perception of marriage before I got married was the idea that life kind of ends after marriage, right? So all of a sudden you go from being this fun, independent person to being bogged down by responsibilities. You can't just take off and travel on your own. You can't do any of these things on your own.
What caused that perception?
I think seeing a lot of traditional marriages. Growing up, you see, the aunties and uncles, um, kind of like the culture you've grown up in. You sort of see, especially the woman being tied down by a lot of responsibilities in and out of the home, but just not being able to do as many fun things on your own.
Okay. So I mean, did that hold true, or is that the same, or is that different after marriage? Kind of
um,
awkward because I'm like right here.
yeah, slightly awkward. Well, I mean, you do have a lot more responsibilities. All of a sudden, you're responsible not just for yourself, but for, having a home, having another person in your life. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be like that. You can still have a lot of fun. I've been married or we've been married for um,
Sorry, I dropped something. Go ahead.
almost seven.
Keep going.
Continue.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so, we've been married for almost 7 years, and we've traveled all over the country. We've traveled outside of the country. We've just woken up and done fun things on the weekends. At the same time, we've both had careers. I've gone through grad school. So just because you're married doesn't mean things have to stop for you or you have to stop your own goals or dreams or whatever. Things can happen the way you want it to, if you want it to.
So, what advice would you give to somebody in your situation, like 7 years ago, just about to get married, or like planning to get married? A lot of the marriage planning focuses on like, a lot of the marriage planning focuses on like the wedding and like flowers and like the hall and the food.
Or even finding the person.
Okay, yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm right here, but
Well.
what
Uh,
are some things that you would advise someone? They're like, because there's a lot of people who are like so caught up in like trying to find the right person.
yeah.
So, what would you
Yeah.
say?
Well, before you find the right person, so a lot of frustrations I see with girls is that, you're looking for this perfect person or perfect fit, rather. But the problem is, a lot of times we don't look within ourselves. So if you're looking to get married, the first thing is, are you the kind of person that you would like to have in a spouse, right? So, if you're the girl or you're the guy, would you want to be with a person like yourself, right? So once you answer that question truthfully and honestly, then it's step two, okay? If I'm looking for a patient person, am I a patient person? If I'm looking for a fun person, am I a fun person, right? So once you have sort of figured out these things about yourself, and that's step one, and then step two is to obviously work towards becoming that person. And once you have done that, only then can you really see what you would like in another person. So that's the first thing I would tell someone.
So a lot more emphasis on like individual development.
For sure. Because a lot of times people jump into marriages and there's this whole concept of, I was this one person before I got married, I became another person, or I discovered I wasn't really like that. So that self-discovery is really important. Obviously,
Actually, it leads to a lot of divorces.
It does. And obviously you will change. I can tell you I'm not the same person I was 7 years ago. Obviously change is inevitable and good. But at the same time, you want to make sure you're changing for something good, right?
And
So-
almost like, you should know to some degree, maybe not everything, but like the direction at least that your trajectory is when you change.
Definitely.
A lot of people don't know, They don't know.
Yeah, and also knowing what is important to you, what qualities are important to you as a person, and almost kind of rank them in your mind, right? So is flexibility something that's really important to you, or is stability something important to you, right? So these are the things that are important to you. Make sure that you know these things ahead of time. Don't just rush into something.
The irony is that like these are the things that no one talks about before marriage.
No, because these are not easy topics to talk about.
Yeah, you kind of have to get real with yourself. But
Yeah.
people talk a lot about financial stability and
Good family.
yeah, familial readiness and all these kind of things. But
Even religion.
Yeah, they talk about like, oh, are they namazi? Do they pray?
Yeah.
But then people rarely talk about like, am I emotionally / ethically / mental health wise, ready to get married?
Yeah.
These are big questions. What do you think about the concept of like studying or learning about marriage before marriage?
Very important.
Are you just saying that?
No, I'm not just saying that. So I think this is actually still very new in our community, especially, right? If you talk to people, even in our parents' generation, most people will tell you they never talked about these things, right? Either they met someone, got married, or someone found them someone and they got married, and that was just kind of that. And all these difficult questions and all these difficult scenarios had to come up once they were already married, thus adding to the stress. Now, the thing is, back at that time, maybe one could argue divorce was not as easy or as common or as okay. So people kind of stuck it through. Whereas today, divorce is a lot easier. So all of a sudden, you see marriages kind of collapsing. But it's not like the issues have changed so much. It's more that, it's just become an easier route to take at this point. So it is really important to talk about these things before marriage because, whenever we make a really big, important decision in our life, something like going to college, you research everything about the college you want to go to, right? But you're getting into this relationship that's supposed to last you forever, hopefully. And if we don't research about it or we don't learn about it beforehand, you're jumping into something you really know nothing about. And it's supposed to be this life-changing decision for you.
Yeah. Did we? We kind of did. We did it before it was cool. We did premarital counseling.
We did.
In a really weird way.
We answered 100 questions. It was tedious and long.
That was fun.
And we were very young, but we
were
still...
like 12.
We were like child marriage.
In Bangladesh? No, we answered 100 questions.
And and being in college, we were in college at the time, and we still had to answer questions about, who would be responsible for managing the finances, and how would you feel if, one of you had to stop working for some time? And these are not things college students really think about.
Yeah.
But if you're jumping into marriage or if you're taking that step, then these are things you do need to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Are we done?
Good talk.